Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Cheat Code Weekly, where we discuss video game collecting and investing. And today we have with us Tyler, or Default Gen, for people who know Tyler online via forums or his YouTube channel that he used to run, Collector's Quest podcast, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have listened to. I definitely recommend any video game collectors should check that out. And Tyler here, you are what I would call a true collector. It's a term I hate. I hate when I see it thrown around because usually it's like the Scotsman fallacy, but I think everyone can quickly understand what I mean here. You collect and you buy purely for the love of the game. You're not worrying about the financial returns or investment, because I know that's where me and Henry lose it a lot, or we get too deep in it. Worrying about every single thing we purchase has to be optimal or whatever it is. And you're out here buying CIB Genesis set. I think you have loose NES, multiple other sets, full sets that you have. When, again, me and Henry are out here saying, we had a video not too long ago, that full set collecting's dead. So we're bringing you on today here where we want to get your perspective on kind of how the hobby has shifted and changed, how you've managed to be in it, because you've been in the hobby as long as I have, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure I know you from all the way back on Nintendo Age. I joined in 2011, I believe. Do you remember what year you joined Nintendo Age by chance?
I don't know when I joined, but I mean, I've been around as long as Nintendo Age has been around, because I started collecting. You could basically trace my collecting to the announcement of the Wii Virtual Console, where they announced that digital NES games were going to be $5 each. And you have to remember, if you're like 19 years old right now, you're just like, yeah, whatever, digital stuff costs money. In 2005, digital stuff did not cost money. So my whole thing getting into collecting was, I could buy these Nintendo games for $2 each. Why would I pay Nintendo $5 for a digital ROM file? This is the biggest ripoff ever. And really, this whole thing started because I didn't want to pay $5 for NES ROMs.
So literally before that, you weren't really retro collecting? Like, that kind of was the push, I guess, you needed, where it was like, man, this just makes
it.
Yeah, I was purely playing modern games, and then they're like, hey, we're gonna charge you $5 to play Super Mario Brothers. And I'm playing Super Mario Brothers in like emulators and stuff, if I'm playing it at all. But I just thought it was such a scam to charge $5 for some of the best video games ever made that I totally just started collecting.
That's actually crazy. So I guess, yeah, you could just talk a little bit more about what you chase after now in these ages. If you started going after NES cartridges, how did you go as deep as you did? What do you now chase after?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, I'm mostly into just stuff I'm interested in right now, which is a lot of historic stuff in genres. It's a lot of computer games, because I have a lot of the important console games already. Not to diminish console stuff. There's really only so much console stuff, and like, if you're collecting sets, you have a lot of it by default.
I was gonna say, you did full sets. You it's not even literally you have the interesting games. You just like have every game.
Yeah, but so like, you have to remember, you're right that full set collecting is dead. And I don't collect sets anymore. I haven't collected sets for like 5 years now. When I finished up kind of the stuff I was still working on. I started collecting like seriously 2006-ish. And you go on Digit Press in 2006, N64 collecting, garbage, trash. No one wants N64 stuff. It is just like the biggest piece of shit console that has ever been made. People are like making fun of Sculptor's Cut. People are like, oh, you're spending $40 in a cartridge of Sculptor's Cut? What's wrong with you? It's an N64 game.
So is that when Atari still dominated the collector scene, or like what was?
I think NES was still the coolest, at least with me. I was younger than everyone, because I was like 16 at the time or something. But like, I was interested in NES, and then Atari Age was still really big at the time as well. I think Atari Age is bigger than any video game collecting forum now.
For some reason, it survived while everyone else died.
Yeah, because they like forums. They're like the old men who don't care about social media.
Hey Tyler, when you were on Digipress, was it always about the digital rarity guide? Like when I collected, I was collecting all these like Rarity 9 Atari cards that were prototypes and stuff. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, that was... See, I worked at Burger King, so I wasn't collecting R9 Atari games. But that is 100% how I tracked how good of a deal anything was. The Digipress Rarity Guide, it rated things on a 1 to 10 based on vibes, basically, community vibes. And if I could get like an R7 for like $5, it's like, damn, that's a good deal. If I could get an R8 or an R9 at all, it's like, oh man, this is like a centerpiece of my collection now on my Burger King budget. But the reason I collected sets is basically the entire the entire realm of collectible video games was Atari 2600 through SNES, there really wasn't that much. So it really felt like you could have it all. If you start collecting sets now, if you start trying to collect every video game, there's just tens and tens of thousands of different video games you can collect. Like, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5 is crazy, just the PlayStation games alone. There's just so much more out there. I would never start collecting sets. It's really just like hoarding more at that point than it was.
Even if you were to just like say, NES, Super Nintendo, N64, I guess now is the most popular set to collect because there's hardly any games for it. But would you like even, if someone was like, oh, I'm going to collect every SNES game?
I mean, I think the prices have risen to the point where it's like, do you really want to, if you only have so much money to spend on games, like if you have unlimited money, like fine, go for it. But like, are you going to buy the International Superstar Soccer 2000? You're going to buy Rat Attack. You're going to buy Stunt Racer. You're going to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on all these games you absolutely do not care about.
This is a reminder.
Did you just look back at some of those examples?
I'm getting reminded to feed my dog. Hold on. If you could get all the set filler, and like if there were only like 10 expensive games in a set, if it was like, Snow Bros through Little Samson and stadium events, yeah, maybe it makes sense to like go pick up that onesie twosie stuff when you can. But all that middle stuff has gone in price up so much. Like, what's the average like middle set filler stupid NES game no one cares about? $100, and there's 600 of them. Like, it's a pretty big investment to go after an NES set full of games. I mean, and that's the best one. I wouldn't even say those are games no one cares about.
Yeah.
Do you think you will actually consolidate down then?
My collection just peaked.
I just sold like, I don't know, 200 or 300 games, like loose
cartridges.
Really?
Not like crazy stuff, but I've hoarded my entire life. I have so many games. I never sell anything. Because I always feel like, well, maybe I'm going to start like finishing this set. Maybe I want to collect a loose Famicom set. Like I'm never going to do that kind of stuff. So I finally just started taking like the low value garbage in my collection, and because I got like, I don't know, 15,000 games. Like I need to, like Greg on his channel, getting rid of his garbage that's just sitting around. That's like, why do I have this? I have like boxes and boxes. Like
you have like 10 times the amount I might have then, and it's like I feel like I'm drowning.
I mean, boxes like loose Atari cartridges, Nintendo Wii games, just like what am I going to do with any of this stuff?
My gosh. So I guess all this said, great preface. It's 2025, big question here. You have your own audience with Collector Quest. Where is retro video game collecting as a hobby right now in general? Not even sealed graded. I know that's what we focus on, but are new people coming in? Is it a good time to enter? What do you see through your own lenses?
I mean, I see guys going on the game collecting Reddit and posting their sealed games to try to stir shit up, and then getting yelled at by the Reddit game collecting mods.
Like I've never, doesn't ring a bell.
I mean, there's two senses. Like, if you're interested in video games, it's always a good time to start collecting. I don't think you're never going to be priced out. It is ridiculous to think that there's ever a point in history you'd be priced out. A copy of Grand Theft Auto 3, a copy of God of War, a copy of The Last of Us 2 will never be out of reach for anyone. You could collect good games all day and just be happy. You don't have to buy, complete in box rare NES games. Is it a good time to buy fancy graded sealed stuff? That I don't know. I think I'm more pessimistic about game collecting as a hobby than almost anyone in your Discord.
As in like sealed and graded specifically, or even just buying go back to Rat Attack, or sorry, go.
Video games in general. I just think like physical media peaked in 2008. Physical media sales, and like it's just going down. Like the unit sales, I think sometimes you see like 50-50 digital versus physical, and then you look at the revenue, it's like 96% digital versus 4% physical. Like obviously, the publishers don't care about continuing physical games. I don't think kids are growing up with as many physical games. I think the experience of owning a physical game for people like growing up is a lot less special. You open up a Nintendo Wii game or a Nintendo Switch game, there's not even like a manual in there anymore compared to opening like a big box PC game or an NES game. You got like maps and all this shit in there. So I think like it's questionable how interested future generations will be in game collecting as we are, and as generations older than us are. But I know that's not a popular opinion, because in in some investing, speculating circles, you just want to be like, oh, we're early. Oh, everyone's going to come into this somehow. And
we're all going to the moon.
I hear you fully on that. And it's why even when I talk about it, like even on this channel, I guess with Henry, I try to, we try to preface everything where it's like, if you are chasing after something that is in the 5 figures, it's that consideration of future audience, like you said. Where is I'm going to beat on Rat Attack here because you decided to mention it, but where is the buyers for Rat Attack in another 5 to 10 to 15 years? There's a factory sealed copy on eBay, I think right now, ending tonight as we do this. It's at 1,300 US. I think was the last time I saw it. Stuff like that gives me a lot of worry. I know you talk about the hobby peaked, say 2008. I think NES collecting might have peaked somewhere 2015, 2016 when Nintendo Age was still doing hidden gems type stuff, but
I don't think the hobby peaked. I think like physical media sales in like the real world peaked.
Okay, so in saying that, then why? Like, because my difference on this, I don't want to make it the whole conversation here, but I got to challenge you a bit. Is if we get to the point where physical media is no longer being sold to people, right? You have a whole audience of people who like purchasing physical media who aren't just going to stop spending budget. Like, they're still going to play games, obviously, and they'll make digital purchases, but physical people will purchase physical, and you might have a whole group of buyers now that no longer have the Nintendo Switch 4 to purchase games for, who then spend all the budget going backwards instead. Hey, let's discover 20 years of video games that I didn't play because I'm pissed off at the current state of the market where they no longer offer me an actual product.
I mean, sure, but it's
for everything to grow.
Yes, but no.
Sounds like a lot of cope.
Yeah, is that just cope?
I mean, also, I talk to a lot of people in game collecting. I talk to people who do nothing but buy like NES and SDS games, like all this old shit, and then like all they play is new games. Like they don't care about playing like old games at all. It's 100% a collectible for them. And so I don't think like if you cut off physical media, like all of a sudden Joe just plays Nintendo Switch over here is going to be like, I wonder about all these GameCube games I missed out on, because Joe only plays Nintendo Switch might be like, GameCube games, these games already been in HD, these suck.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's fair. I just wanted to give, because you can see with vinyl and stuff where the medium's dead, but you get a new wave of like people.
That's where I think video game collecting is heading, but I don't think that is where, if you want video game collecting to be the next comic books or Pokemon cards, I don't think you want it to be vinyl. Because the way the vinyl market works is like, the only releases people buy are like these special edition releases that go straight to collectors. The average public isn't really buying vinyl. And you want the average public to be buying Pokemon cards and getting interested in it that way, right?
If you want
if you truly want explosion of the hobby, but I think we are going to a specialized market. Like, I think that is the inevitable.
I mean, it is, because like physical media is going to die, and then all we're going to have is like special releases from these like special publishers that are targeting collectors, which is how vinyl works now.
Okay. So this hobby is doomed. Is that the quick and easy there?
Yeah, we're doomed, dude. It's all going to zero.
Thank God we're both starting to sell awesome stuff now.
Here's my investing advice for you. I'm wearing the hat. If you are going to, like, if you are a true believer and you need to speculate on a video game or you're going to die, I don't think that the Snow Bros of the world, the Little Samsons of the world that like NES guys are into, I don't see a world where that goes like 10x. What you need to do, you need to get that guy who bought the $2 million copy of Super Mario Brothers. It wasn't even like a sticker seal. It was like a hang tab. It was just a really nice hang tab, Super Mario Brothers. You need to target the rich guy pop culture collector who doesn't care about video games. And there's really only so many video games that will get to that level. Maybe you could target the Reddit guy, Alexis O'Houlihan, whatever the guy's name is. Maybe you can get some stuff there. But you need like A+ tier titles if you want to tell me you're investing in video games.
I don't think that's
just really quick thing, Chrono Trigger. We debated that one. Does it hold up?
I think Chrono Trigger holds up.
Yeah, the team behind it
is too legendary. I think its status as the greatest JRPG of all time is kind of too legendary. I made a comparison recently to someone who said that Final Fantasy III is the best JRPG there ever was, the best JRPG there ever will be. And I called Final Fantasy III similar to the movie The Searchers, which is a movie your grandpa saw. If you're into Westerns or old movies, you're like, yeah, The Searchers, one of the best movies ever made. But if you talk to someone on the street, they probably haven't seen The Searchers. And Final Fantasy III, I think, is eventually headed to where that is. I think if you care about old games, if you care about JRPGs, if you care about Final Fantasy, yeah, you'll play Final Fantasy 3. Otherwise, you might have heard of it, or you might just not care about it at all. I don't think Chrono Trigger is there. I think Chrono Trigger is a level above that, though. I think people still care.
Interesting. Any rebuttal, Henry?
I'm sorry, do you have a sealed Final Fantasy 3 over there?
I don't know if he does or not. I don't know if he does.
I don't. I don't, but I mean, it's not Mario, it's not Zelda, it's not Pokemon, so it's not tier 1. But I do think it will be relevant as long as people like us are alive.
But as long as people like us are alive, sure.
Yeah, but for the new generation, I don't know how many touch points they're gonna have with Chrono Trigger. You know, the last game came out for what, the DS, like the remake.
Yeah.
I mean, besides like Steam re-releases and iOS and crap like that.
Yeah. So there's just not that much relevance anymore to younger people. But as long as we're alive, I'm totally down for it.
This could be biased. I feel like Chrono Trigger gets some bump because it is so universally recognized as like the greatest JRPG. At the very least, it's the greatest like 16-bit JRPG. Even if you don't agree with that, it's like so universally recognized as that.
No, people our age definitely understand it. Like I was talking to a guy that doesn't even like really play games or collect games at all. He's like, oh, like, do you have a Chrono Trigger sealed? Like that's the first game he thought of. So it definitely resonates with people. But it's just, is it going to be a $2 million game? No, I don't think so.
I agree. Sometimes I hear about like 20-year-olds that like they don't know what a Sega Genesis is, and I'm like, it's all going to zero, dude. It's it's all going to zero.
Might as well sell off your entire set.
Yeah.
So on that note, then, like you collect a lot of obscure and niche stuff, Tyler. My own brain is so broken. It's like the finance side is there for every single purchase I make. I still do buy like sealed DBZ stuff, and I try to spend money on stuff I just love where I don't care. But in the back of my head, it's always like, who am I going to sell this to in the future? Do you think about that a lot when you're buying the more obscure and niche stuff at the hobby? And how do you like deal with that?
No, I just don't plan on selling any of it. It's like, this is such a hobby for me, and it's in the sense that like I spend money on my hobby as enjoyment. I don't expect to get anything back out of it. And if there is a point where I need to be able to get the money back out of it, I'm probably just not going to buy it. Like I would love to, I have a sealed like VGA 85 Ocarina of Time. It was like one of the first sealed games I ever bought. What a huge mistake. Don't buy a VGA 85 anything. What are you doing? I would love to upgrade that, but I'm not going to spend like what is like $6,000, like $10,000 for a really nice one. And it's just like, once I'm spending that much money on like a minor upgrade, essentially, then I'd start worrying about like, all right, if I need to sell this, do I need to get money back out of it? I don't want to spend $8,000 sunk cost on a hobby that I'm never going to get back, essentially. So I kind of just like don't buy games that are that much.
Do you set real budgets for yourself? Like, is it like, every month I spend X, or is it just like...
Every time I think about spending a budget or setting a budget, I'm just like, I don't want to like every time I go on eBay, go into my budgeting app and be like, that's a great idea. You should do that, by the way. Honestly, I slow down a lot just because I'm really choosy with what I buy now more compared to the day. There were days, I'm talking like 2019, 2020, when I got like a certain kind of FOMO in me, like the entire market did. Like I was getting like 3 games in the mail every single day for like a couple years.
Oh man.
Yeah, the thing I do to budget myself, like I try to put as much money from my paycheck somewhere else. So when I see the money in my bank account that's like, oh, I've got money, let's spend it. Like I'm making sure like I'm maxing out my 401k, maxing out an IRA, doing all those sorts of things. So like anything in my bank account that's just sitting there is my like fuck around money that I don't need to worry about budgeting as much.
Yeah, which is massive because I know we're sitting here like, just buy anything you want, don't budget. But it's like, I guess it helps with that financial thing. If you are maxing out investments and you have actual things that you, I guess that, what everyone always says, don't invest in games, buy like stocks instead. If you're doing that as well, I get it. I don't know. I still can't. Like, even if I'm spending $200, it's like, I lost that. I lost the wonder, the joy of like walking into a game store and being like, oh my god, this is cool, because all I see are like numbers.
Oh man, you see, I walk into a game store now and I just see like, oh, you guys don't really have anything good, because like, even like
Is that
a
like
decent
in the
game store,
perspective
what are
where
the
you've
chances?
seen everything, or
What?
is that in the perspective of like you've seen everything, so it's really hard to
Yeah, I've
impress
seen
you?
everything.
I've seen everything that's gonna walk into my local game store. Like, no one is gonna walk into my game store and even have like a complete Pocky and Rocky 2. If I walked into my local game store and they had like a $700 complete in box Super Metroid, I'd be like, I can't believe this is here. You guys actually have a good game. It's twice the price it should be, but I never see good stuff. Because, like, what's walking into game stores now? It's like Xbox 360 games and PS3 games. It's like junk. If you see a complete in-box Nintendo game, any complete in-box Nintendo game that's, like, a decent title, it's, like, amazing to see in a game store. And that's not even what I want. I want to see, like, obscure, cool, collectory stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because I would say the retro hobby isn't necessarily growing at this point, but we don't see an influx of supply of good stuff, like you're saying, hitting game stores. Because mine are also barren. I don't even like go to my game stores anymore. We have glorified pawn shops. We can't sustain a game store here. But you go in, and like you said, you might see a few boxed NES games or whatever. But they're not rare. But why aren't we still seeing them come to, like, are people just not dead yet? What are we waiting for?
I think Complete in Box is underpriced compared to the availability, especially cartridges. I think Complete in Box is as good as it gets. That's not really true, but I think I see the sealed market differently than the people who are spending $150,000 on a Clue Land, because I think like sealed is basically just a condition upgrade from Complete in Box.
So there's not 4 sealed Clue Lands on the.
No, that's crazy. It's not.
That's crazy. What are you talking about? It's
That's
the
a
same-
change
same
of
object.
state.
They're mass produced. Yeah, it's the state.
The state is
The
the
state
condition.
of being, not just a conditional
like,
state. You
there's
can't
10
reverse.
times-
You can't reverse the state.
There's just
Yeah,
no magic
reverse the
air in there.
Yeah, but like a cup of water isn't a bunch of ice cubes. Like it's not a. You can't reverse it. You gotta. There's
This
a
is
change
why
here.
I'm different. See, I think
Man.
I mean, we're getting. I want going back to like just Complete in Box is underpriced. Like there's 10 times
Cycle.
as many cartridges as Complete in Box. So like Complete in Box should be 10 times the price of a cartridge, but it's definitely not. And then sealed, you would say like, oh well, there's 200 times fewer sealed copies than Complete in Box.
Hey, stop trying to pump the market, Tyler. We're not trying to pump the
pumping the
market.
market. Complete in Box is
We're
underpriced.
pumping it. All right, 200 times the price of loose.
Yeah. You know, if you want to get into that state thing, a Complete in Box like NES or SNES game, like that's something special, dude. Like have you opened a Complete in Box NES game, everything is packed in there perfectly. You will never get that back in there. The baggies folded just the right way. It's got like you open like a Final Fantasy, it's got like the maps and stuff in there. You'll never get that stuff like 100% perfect how it is in there.
So
That's
doesn't
like a
Final
magical
Fantasy have the extra skinny piece of styrofoam in there as well to like fit
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's just
you have that and you feel it. It feels like solid because everything is in there just right. I think that the premium that people pay for an NES or SNES game, something that really has like substance like that, I feel like that's worth a lot more compared to an Xbox 360 game. Like if you start looking at the pops and the conditions for an Xbox 360 game, it's like literally the only thing different about this is the shrink wrap. Once you open it, it's not special like an NES game. Even like a Sega Genesis game, I've opened sealed Genesis games and they're not in good condition because the manual's just flopping around there. So I see a sealed NES game, I'm like, wow, there it is. That thing is mint in there. I see a sealed Genesis game, I'm like, all right, so it's got like a 4.5 manual in there because someone's been shaking it around. It's not special. It's the state. But to me, it's only special because the NES and SNES stuff, that stuff is mint in there. And so I think that's more worth the premium.
In more of a general sense, this is something I was harping on Nintendo Age like 10 years ago, speaking about a Complete in Box Chrono Trigger. I remember I made a thread about this because I was like, even if stuff goes down in price, premium condition CIB should outpace the market or even keep rising as let's say the game Chrono Trigger cuts down to, what's a cartridge cost now? 100, 130? What's a Chrono cost? Let's say it cuts down to $50. I assume the CIB would keep climbing regardless. Just because, like you said, it's a 1 to 20 ratio of cart to CIB.
Yeah.
And like
video games are
the
mass produced and video game cartridges are like durable as hell. So
yeah.
And video game boxes are not. Video game boxes are garbage. When I opened up a video game, I used to tear the box in half and just like immediately throw it out. I didn't even try to open the flaps. I tore the box in half.
This is why seals were something, because people tear open that shit.
It is, and like I'll fight you about condition or sealed or whatever it is. Graded should be, the most special of the special. But I understand that for the general consumer, the general hobbyist, whatever you want to call it, CIB will be king. Like that is where people will enter the hobby. That is what people will relate to, and sealed will be the niche luxury. I don't even want to call it the upgrade. It's just like the other thing that you could do. But
it's a different market. It's a different market. Like I think very few people will ever even attempt to like collect a full set graded sealed thing.
Well, that'll never happen. But even
exactly.
Like even if you go like, okay, people are buying CIB. I don't think a lot of CIB collectors will ever buy sealed.
I mean, sealed has a pretty big image problem since 2019.
What happened to the hobby? What do you mean?
It used to be sealed, like no one cared about it. It was like some guys on sealed Game Haven or Heaven. No one cares what's going on over there. And then WATA blows up. We got $100,000 Mario, and now it's like, oh, it's a scam. It's money laundering. I'm a true collector, as you said, and everything is just money laundering. So I'm mostly here to stop all the money laundering.
You understand this hobby well.
But I mean, it's so interesting, right? You look at comics, like there are people against comic grading, but it's so accepted. And like the trading cards, no one even plays the fucking Pokemon trading card game, and grading is the most accepted thing. And like video games, forget about it. You graded a video game, what is your problem?
Did you see that like comic blowback is at like an all-time high right now for against grading?
Oh, is it?
It is. Because CGC has had so many goddamn issues in 2024 with like insiders doing stuff, the holders are breaking books, prices are down, like animosity's up right now for against comic grading.
Excellent. Is it like, but like,
Excellent.
No, is it like new stuff? Are people like, oh, you guys aren't reading the new Incredible Hulk series, you're just sending it into grading? Or are people complaining about sending in like Silver Age keys?
Yeah, real stuff. Like real stuff is getting wrecked and stuff in CGC holders. And
I mean, that sucks.
Like, yeah, I'll be against grading for that. But are people like, if you're gonna tell me like, oh, you shouldn't send in that, showcase whatever key issue because you should be reading it. Like, fuck you. I'm just gonna send in a comic to grade. I don't even grade comics, but like, what if I have a $3,000 comic book? I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna just send it in to be in a nice case. And I don't do that with my video games because one, video game grading is super expensive, and two, it like doubles the size of how much space they take up. Whereas like comics and cards, like even when they're graded, they're still pretty small.
Yeah, so that's why even I like doing cards. Like I have Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, like it's great. I put them all in one USPS box and I have like a full base set. It's great.
Yeah, it's
man. See, this is why graded games sucks. Let's go back to graded games. It's just because they take up so much space.
I do want to talk a bit more about graded in a second here, but I am curious why CIB Genesis, because that is like a weird full set to go after. Then there's a ton of, I would say, just sports titles, garbage. Like Genesis is interesting. Why did you go with CIB with that specifically?
I mean, I already had a Sega CD set and a Saturn set. It just felt like I was getting all the loose NES or the Nintendo sets because I didn't want to buy all the Nintendo garbage because it was so expensive. But like the complete Genesis bulk was like not that bad, so I'm just like, whatever. It was my childhood console. I didn't have an NES. I had a Genesis.
Isn't that like 700 games though? Like it's not nothing.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty big set. It's definitely it's my most impressive set. I would definitely say it was hardcore.
What's the like rarest game, hardest you got with that? Anything weird?
Outback Joey, if you count it, is like.
Did you get an Outback Joey?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't have the complete box console for it.
You don't have it?
I'm just a poor guy with an Outback Joey cart.
But you have it. Why do you have an Outback Joey?
Because I have the Genesis set. Why wouldn't I have an Outback Joey?
I think he said he has one.
Yeah, I have an Outback Joey because I used to be a collector, man. I got the Heart Team and console with this.
Yeah, that's the real stuff. This is what we should be collecting. Heartbeat personal trainers. What do you mean, Super Mario Brothers? If you're a collector with a true heart, you know Super Mario Brothers is common. Everybody had Super Mario Brothers. Who even knows what Heartbeat Personal Trainer is?
No one fucking knows about it.
That's why when you see it on the shelf, you're like, wow, what's that? That thing's probably worth $8,000. And you'd be right.
Yeah, I should probably sell it to your local video game store so they have something impressive.
Something interesting.
I
Exactly.
know, right?
If they had a Harpy personal trainer, it could be $20,000, but at least I'd walk into the store and be like, wow, there's something cool for collectors here.
I need to get myself a life entertainment or whatever it is, one of those cycles to go with speed
Oh
bikes
my
or
god,
mountain
that
bikes.
thing's too big. No,
Yeah.
you don't want that shit. No, that's
Yeah.
too big.
This is the thing where like
exertainment.
cards and comics are like better as collectibles because they're smaller compared to like, I don't know, a big box PC game. Like you don't want a collectible exercise bike. That's kind of the worst thing you could possibly buy.
Yeah, so I want to touch on that too. You're a big PC guy. Why does everyone hate PC collecting?
What? Because they don't have floppy drives? I have no idea. No one is playing their games. I am a game collector. I don't play my games. You don't play your games. If you are buying games as a collectible, you don't play them. Maybe you play 3% of them. I play some of my games. The vast majority of my games I'm buying because I'm interested in it as an object. I'm just buying it on my shelf. I might have already played the game. I might buy it on Steam. It might be like the original version of a game I played the remake of. I don't play a lot of my games. So why wouldn't I buy Apple II games, Commodore 64 games, old PC games? I don't care if I don't have a drive that can play it. I do have drives that can play it, but I don't understand why if you're just buying a collectible for what it represents, it's like not buying an old Magic card because it's like, well, I only play the most recent Magic sets. I don't play vintage Magic. It's still a fucking Mox Diamond. It's a cool card. We're just buying it because it's a cool card. We're not buying it to play Magic the Gathering here.
Yes, like why is that? Like, yeah, I agree with you fully, right? I agree with you fully. And video games has a serious issue of like you have to use everything you purchase. Like it's a weird thing that exists with video game collecting, the hobby. But like, I think with NES or Super Nintendo or Sega CD, whatever you want to say, with a lot of the consoles, people do that still. But like, man, running into a PC collector is a goddamn unicorn. Like, why? PC is interesting.
I mean, I think a sealed
PC collector certainly is. I mean, the PC big box people have a couple places they hang out.
Is
big box
that
group on
we just gotta
Facebook.
find them?
Yeah, Vogons, the forum Vogons has a bunch of PC hardware guys and collectors there. I couldn't tell you. I think I don't think people care about that deep video game history. I don't know. I think if you ask people the history of FPS, like a lot of people would be like, well, it started with GoldenEye and then we got Halo. I think there's
I think that you said was like Halo was one of the birth.
I just think a lot of people don't really care. I mean, I think there's like this contingent of like film bros where like people who like think really deeply and critically about film history. There is huge communities of people writing video essays about movies no one cares about. Jean Dielman 23 Quad Commerce 1800 Brussels is the best movie ever made. Just like this super obscure weird film bro-y stuff. And like when you think about like who is diving into the history of Japanese JRPGs, it's like, man, there's like one YouTube channel that cares about this stuff. And I think just normal people don't care about it beyond maybe putting on in the background of a YouTube video.
So just exposure thing. We need an influencer. Is that how PC
I mean, you need an
explodes?
influencer and you need to get people to care. I don't think you could just like expose people to it. I think people need to, because like some of this stuff you have to like dig into it and find out like, oh, Hydlite is like kind of an important game. Like Hydlite in America, it's like a joke. It's not maybe an important game, but it's a much bigger game in Japan, and like it's just like something no one ever thinks about until you.
Why do I need to care about it in Japan? Now you piqued my interest quick here on Hydlide.
Oh, it's like an early action RPG, and it's in its style. I think like Hydlide, Dragon Slayer, Mugen no Shinzo, and Dragon Quest, like all these like early 1980s things are just like much more known and popular in Japan. I don't want to speak too far out of terms. Someone gave me shit because I called Hydlide popular in Japan, so I don't want to overstate Hydlide. It's definitely a lot more known in Japan.
Yeah, I remember I tried it on NES and it was very akin to Dragon Warrior, so I ended up playing it because I enjoy that mindless cycle of like go out, do some stuff, go back,
Well, you didn't consider the Angry Video Game Nerd made a video about it, which means it's crap. I mean, it is kind of crap, but
wow. So then, yeah, we'll go to graded games in a little bit more here. Past 5-ish years, you talked advent of WATA. used to make hilarious YouTube satire videos covering the market. You should come back. We have a signature auction coming up. You should come back. The great time to make fun of the market.
I don't like being on video. This is the worst for me. I'm sweating. I put on my CGC sweatshirt because I wanted to be repping the graded games here, and I'm like sweating now. Being on video is the worst. I got to wear this hat because it's my brand.
I mean, the hat's pretty sick. I'll give you that. Now, you went into the graded blow-up prices, economic bubble. You actually did mention there that you had FOMO in 2019, 2020-ish there. Was that at all related to the effects that grading was having on the market? Or was that completely not?
Yeah, no, that was 100% it. It's going on Heritage Auctions every day and being like, oh, everything's selling here for like $100,000. It's like Contra. It's like Super Mario Brothers 3. And so in, I think, 2018, because like really WATA started in 2018.
Yeah, that was Insider, though. You had to be special to get the 2018 WATA, I think.
You didn't have to. I wasn't an insider. My first games were graded in 2018. It might have been late 2018.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah. It wasn't like it might have been before. No, it had to be after the Super Mario Brothers sale because WATA didn't launch until the Super Mario Brothers sale, right? Wasn't that one of the first games they graded? Either way, it was around then. I was collecting.
Yeah, we need to go back into the histories of the annals of our annals. Annals? Yeah, we'll get back
Just
there.
say annals. Yeah, you got it.
Annals.
No,
we'll dig deep. Yeah.
2018, 2019, I was collecting rare Xbox Platinum hits, like complete in box. Like, it was the biggest tangent of stuff no one cared about and no one will ever care about. And then all of a sudden, like, all these common games are selling for like $75,000, like Mega Man and shit over here. And I'm looking at my collection like, I don't have Doom. What am I doing with my collection? Like, I don't have a first print Half-Life. These are like top 10 games for me. Like, what am I doing, like, collecting Xbox Platinum hits? And because I got into this mentality, like, a game, like Doom isn't even a common game, but if it's something that is on eBay and it's been at a steady price for 10 years, I just feel like, well, if I ever wanted it, I can get around and go get to it. And then all of a sudden, everything is doubling and tripling in price. I'm like, oh, hey, maybe I should get the games I actually care about and that are good and important rather than Prince of Persia Warrior within Platinum hits because it's rare.
I was going to say that. That's one that I know about, actually, for the rare Platinum hits. It's like one of the only ones. Maybe NBA Ballers or something?
NBA Ballers.
NBA Ballers
is the one, man, yeah.
That is? Oh, man, I still know.
Unless there's a new one. I don't know. I'm out of that scene so hard now.
That's gross that I even know that. Like, oh my gosh. So even when you were doing that though, did you see spillover into your CIB loose rare stuff realm with graded when it was starting to explode?
Did I see what spillover?
Like the pricing, because sealed and graded started exploding, but if you were still doing CIB and loose like that,
there's no spillover at all. What, like, you see the Redditors complain like, oh, the money launderers, oh, the speculators, oh, the resellers are the ones bringing up the prices because prices have like what, doubled or tripled in the past 5 years. I brought up a $150,000 Clue land. You think people were paying $50,000 for a Clue land in 2018? No, the sealed market is crazy. Complete box prices went up 2 to 3 times. It's like nothing. Everything went up 2 to 3 times. Every single collectible category went up 2 to 3 times. Nothing has happened in complete in box games that has anything to do with sealed games. Sealed games is its own thing that has gone completely nuts, separate from the rest of the video game market. I mean, maybe you could point at like a few things that have spiked and have had weird things happen to them. You know, that Piglet game, whatever. But like, that's not like the market in general. The market in general is up like 2x. Is
Piglet's big game just the latest money laundering effect? Is that
the latest money laundering effect,
dude? All you got to do is buy out like 4 copies of a game on eBay and make a Twitter post, and that's your ticket to financial freedom. Okay.
It actually is dumb how quick it is. That it like
I can't believe it doesn't happen more. I mean, this kind of stuff happens in trading cards a lot. Like, people try to buy out hundreds of trading cards, like vintage cards, to corner the market on Magic the Gathering. There are some rare video games that do not show up on eBay, and I can't believe people don't like buy them out and try to hype them on Twitter.
This is just a pure-hearted market, man. We're just, bunch of true collectors.
I was considering doing a podcast episode. We were going to buy out, I think it was Klonoa 2 on PS2, all the sealed copies, all the complete box copies, and then the Saw Xbox 360 games. We're going to buy out all the copies for like 2 months and then watch the price over time. And basically, this theory was that it would spike up and then it would never come back to the normal price, even after we had stopped buying stuff in the market, because we would create FOMO. And we ended up not doing that because we didn't want people to hate us forever. But I am 100% sure if you did that to a game that's like a little bit uncommon, a little bit people like it, like a survival horror game or a Klonoa game, like 100% you could do that. And I don't understand why we don't see it more. Not like I don't want it to happen more, but like, guys, go manipulate the market. You want riches? Go buy every copy of Klonoa too. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's essentially what happened in 2020 or whenever it was sealed games. That is literally the blueprint, what they did.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what Harry Rinker tells you to do and how to make the most of your investments in antiques and collectibles.
I'm glad you found a chance to get Harry Rinker in there.
Sean appreciates your you talking about Mr. Rinker there.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we're in 2025. What do you feel about graded games now? Is it? I mean, clearly it's not the same as, you know, the pandemic highs. So,
I mean, it's not. I feel like every time I'm on a heritage auction, like looking at stuff, like trying to find a deal or something, I feel like the vibes I get are like I'm here with like a few dozen other people. I never feel like there's FOMO, like, oh my God, everything's going to go for market price. I'm never going to get a deal in anything. I feel like I could find something that slips through the cracks. Whereas with, trading cards or something, I don't know how many things slip through the cracks just because there's so many people in those markets.
Yeah. I mean, so you feel like it's still pretty niche and small, and
I do.
It's like several dozen people.
I see I'm in the Greg Discord. It's the same few of us talking. Every once in a while we get like a few like new people who come in and become active and stuff, but I don't see some huge surge in the market. But I'm not on social media. I'm not on like Facebook where most of the stuff happens for some reason. I don't know why. You guys are all on Facebook.
You guys are away from forums was bad. That was not a good. That was bad.
Yeah. Forums are super good. You could go back and look at the old information we used to have.
Yeah, you have an actual written history. Now we don't.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you here in 2025 that like I don't want to say a few dozen, but like it's not expanding at a fast rate is what I would say for new entrants, new people. I do get hit up on like Reddit and Instagram a lot of people who are there's a lot of single people who are like, hey, I have a few games, or hey, I have this, hey, I found this. Should I get it graded? How, where, that type of stuff. I get a decent amount now, but it's never like I guess it's always someone looking to sell something and maximize value rather than enter into the hobby and like get the best price possible.
I mean, you were known as the guy on the game collecting subreddit who would tell people like, oh, ignore everyone else because literally everyone on this subreddit has no idea what they're talking about. Just listen to Greg, get it graded and sell it at like heritage auctions because this thing is actually worth some money. Oh, you got a sealed Kid Icarus. Don't open it like all these people are telling you to.
Yeah. And that's why my inbox now is like, hey, I saw you commenting on whatever. What do I actually do with this? And it's like, yeah, go get money. Go get money. Just go sell it to some idiot who will pay you too much then. Like, just go sell it.
Right? Yeah.
You've, like, just kind of a different spot here, but you've been in the hobby so long. Do you have, like, an end spot, an end goal? Like, does collecting end for you?
I mean, no, but I have felt very recently like, oh, I'm like really happy with where my collection is. Like, I'm getting to the point where I always prioritize a want list. I always have like the top 10 games I want, and I really try to focus on knocking out the top game on my want list. So if it's like
a $600 game,
like you do have like your want list and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't, because I try not to just like see something on Instagram and be like, oh, that's cool, let's go buy it. Because like once you get into that set, like all of a sudden that's like 3 games are showing up at my doorstep every single day because I just want all the games. So I really try to focus and think about what are the games I want the most, and then I always try to knock out the top game rather than just buying exciting things I see all the time. And it's getting to the point where like all the stuff on my want list is like, it comes up so infrequently. Like I'm buying a game like every 2 weeks now. Like I went from 3 games a day 5 years ago to like maybe buying a game every 2 weeks. And I'm buying better stuff because it's all like really exciting stuff, rare stuff that I can't find. So it's not, it is cheaper. It's not like crazy cheaper. But like I'm getting to the point where like if I'm only buying a game every 2 weeks, And like most of these are like kind of obscure stuff that I'm not gonna die if I don't have it, because like if it doesn't show up on eBay this often, like does this game really matter? Because most games that matter, you can go buy them. Yeah, I'm just pretty happy with where my collection is. So there's no end game, but like I've slowed down and I'm content. And I don't think that's a place collectors normally get to. I think
that's what I was gonna say. So if you're in a content spot, buying less and less, are you also just content holding everything you have? Like you look around and you're like, yeah, this is good. I'm happy.
I look around and it's half, yeah, this is good, I'm happy, and half, oh my god, sell it all, oh my god, I bought all this stuff in like 2009, what am I doing with this stuff? Look at the condition of some of this stuff, oh my god. It's a mix of both of those things. Like, I do need to sell so much stuff, because like I bought so much junk. Like, in every collector's career, if you look at like the stuff you bought, from when you started collecting to halfway into your collecting career, like all that stuff you bought is garbage, and I still have all of that stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm doing my best to trim down as I go. I've always tried. Like, obviously, I'm still behind too. Like, I blew it, but yeah, I'm just curious how you sit in your own mind now that I'm getting. How old are you? I'm 31. I don't think you're that much older than me.
I don't know. I'm 35, I think.
Yeah. Okay. We're close. So yeah, just as I'm getting older, it's like, man, I got a lot of stuff.
It's because I think of like, if I keep up like my pace, if I'm buying like, I don't know, even like 5 games a week, that's like pretty typical pace for how much I've collected on average. Like, what am I going to do? If I keep that up for like another 10, 20 years, like I'm going to be like, what, in my 60s, like literally drowning in video games, like falling over in piles. Like, I'll be like on actual hoarders at that point. And like, if you have that much stuff, you can't enjoy all of it. Literally, even going through my collection now, it's like bringing up in a box. It's exactly what you did on your YouTube, your recent YouTube video. It's like going through a box and being like, oh, this thing's cool. I remember when I bought that 10 years ago. Oh, this thing's cool. I remember when I bought that. And like, I don't even register as like having owned these anymore. I like forgotten about all of it.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going to say that I think that hits it perfectly, is that once it gets to a certain size, you literally can't enjoy it anymore. Which is like weird,
one or two bookcases, if you just like keep upgrading, like get rid of like the worst thing on your bookcase and just like keep upgrading it, like that is absolutely the collection you'll appreciate most. I think Agreed. It's easy to do in graded games, because if you're spending like $3,000 on average per game, like, yeah, the guys, like, people post that in your Discord all the time. It'll just be like, oh, here's a bookcase full of just like, I don't know, 30 Pokemon games, and they're all just like high-end graded Pokemon games. Like, I know that person appreciates all of those games, and I've got like a shelf of like Odyssey 2 games. It's like, oh, it's my Odyssey 2 junk that I thought was a good idea to buy at one point.
You're gonna retire on that stuff. That's history.
That's history.
You and me, Tyler. I sold off all those Odyssey 2 consoles and games and all that stuff. But like I had your mindset before too, where it was like I thought game collecting would go more historical, right? It's like, what's the first consoles? The Magnavox Odyssey, right? Like that's the one to go for. But like what I bought it for 15 years ago, it's basically the same price, if not lower. Now.
It's crazy,
dude. It's Magnavox crazy. Odyssey. Let's talk about it. Magnavox Odyssey, like one of the best deals in video game collecting. Because yeah, it's like $500 for a complete in box Odyssey, and it's always been that, and it's so
it's
important.
Always been that. It is. It is. But I had to sell mine. I just had to sell it because like. No one cares about it, unfortunately.
I don't think it's going anywhere. Like, I don't think there's going to be a sudden surge of interest in it. But, like, in terms of, like, a historical artifact, it's just the coolest thing.
It's cool. But let's say, okay, so you have 15,000 games, but your house is on fire, and you had to take 1 to 2 games off your shelf and run out of there, but everyone else is safe, but you just have, like, time for 1 or 2 games. Which one?
Can I wheel out a pinball machine? Because my Twilight Zone's really nice. So it's the what is it called? There's no real English name for it. It's Mario Golf Champions Course. It's the so I went looking for the rarest Nintendo game, like what I would consider the actual rarest Nintendo game, and there's like a few like weird contenders, like Nintendo World Championships is kind of up there, but for the Mario Golf Japan Course Famicom contest, so all people all around Japan faxed in their scores. And the top 100 scores, they all got a unique Famicom Disk System game, and it was Mario Golf with a very, very difficult golf course, and they only ever made 100 copies of the game. And it comes in it comes in a big fancy box on a gold diskette. It's really cool. And so there's only 100 of them, so I think it's the rarest Nintendo game. It kind of depends on how you define rarity.
But
do you have it to show off? Sorry, like do you have it like in hands reach?
I'll go get it. I mean, I guess this is the box it came in. It comes in a little box that looks like a gift.
Get up there.
All
That's
the
cool.
or a bunch of the Famicom promos and contest prizes come in a box that looks like this. And then it comes in a little
Wow,
thing like this. I'm sorry, my flashlight ran out.
That looks sick. Is that wood?
This is made of wood,
It's a wood case.
And then this is the plaque that tells you what place you got in the contest, and that's the gold disc with the game on it.
Is that 35th place? Is that what it says?
Yes. Yeah, so that's 35th. Yeah, I think that's 35th place. And it's funny because these don't come up for sale that often, but a lot of times they'll black out the place because they don't want you to identify whose it was, because like Japan is like weird about personally identifiable information like that.
It's insane to me. How long did it take you to find one of those?
I was looking, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so in Pokemon, right, just we were talking about that a bit, the Japanese prize cards are like the chase of the hobby, right? Why aren't video game prize cards from like Japanese stuff like that bigger than they are? Like there's a bunch of different prize cards that exist.
Yeah, there's a lot of them are like top 100 stuff. They're not always like exciting games, but the what is it? There's a Mike Tyson's Punch Out that's limited to, what is it? It's 10,000. I forget if it's 1,000 or 10,000. But there's a gold, not Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It's just a gold.
Yeah,
Punch
gold
Out
soda pop on it, I believe. No, Bold Bull. Who's on the?
It's got Bald Bull on the.
Yeah, Bald Bull.
It's
Yeah, that's the
Punch
most
Out.
well-known, I think, Japanese prize card that there is.
And there's
Dragon
a couple
Ball Z
other
has
like
one
golden.
or two. It's just like they should be. Oh fuck! What's he about to pull?
He's got more. He's got them all.
This is Ring King. This is a top prize card. It's gold. This was limited to the top 16 winners got this, and the ROM is different. It says special edition on the title screen, and the mat is a different color.
Yeah,
And no one cares
as much
about it.
as I love sealed and graded, like that is insane. That's insane.
Yeah, I like this stuff. I don't know. I mean, I think the SM Pratt in Pokemon, isn't he all about like Japanese promos and cool stuff like that?
Yes, like
It's
you
cool
need to
stuff.
become like default Gen Pratt and like start pumping your freaking prize
No,
cards.
I want to get all this stuff. I don't want other people to be competing with me for.
No,
you
get
still
them
chasing
first
them?
and then come back to YouTube and then
I mean,
pump
yeah.
them.
Once
You
I
gotta
have them, the stuff will
manipulate.
be like,
Oh yeah, guys, Japanese promos. Look at how great all this stuff is, and I'll be off buying like Amiga games from Europe because like I'm done with Japan now.
Yeah, and then you'll have like a stack of 10 of them to sell them to people. So nice.
Do you just one last question? Do you care about getting multiples? Like if another one came up, would you?
No, I mean, this game was like $11,000. I would not get a multiple of it. But I used to be really against getting multiples because I was like, well, I already have it. Like, what do I need another copy for? And then, like, as I start, I'm very much like, oh, complete in box is underpriced, condition is underpriced. And, like, the best thing in the world is having a multiple and being like, oh, this one's nicer. I'm going to keep this one. So I'd much rather have, like, look, what I got 7 copies of Super Mario Brothers 3 on that shelf right now because I love knowing that the best one there is like, oh, this is my favorite copy. So yeah, I've absolutely no problem owning multiples. And
Are they variants or just like 7 different copies?
no, there's like 4 variants.
I
and
know,
then
yeah. So it's
3
that's what I
duplicates.
thought.
Yeah, some of them are just duplicates because like
I like upgrading condition now a lot more than I used to.
But you don't dump the downgrade.
I'd never sell anything. Selling is such a hassle, dude. And
Right.
if I
Yeah,
hold on to
you're
it,
right,
everything's
you're right,
going
it
to the
is.
moon. I've got guys who are I've got like these dentists out there that are gonna pump the price of everything. I'll be able to sell Super Mario Brothers 3 for $500 complete in box one day.
Like, you're ahead of the curve with that, I guess. Why am I telling you to sell it? Like buy low, sell high. We're waiting. This was awesome though, dude. Thank you so much for coming on. And that's Tyler, Default Gen, Collector's Quest podcast. I'll link all of your, well, you're not on social media. I'll link your podcast in the description. Is there anything else?
Just come to the Greg Discord. I'm in the Greg Discord all the time.
Yeah, he's in the Discord if you want to talk to him. But thank you so much for coming on, Tyler. That was fantastic. And thanks for listening, you guys.